Welcome to the beginning of the Ascent Trading YouTube channel. Now what this channel is going to be and what this video is going to be about is our main goal here at Ascent Trading. We're going to talk about guides, strategies, and basically good investment opportunities throughout the market. We're going to focus on all sorts of different things that helps our younger audience understand investments. You know, when I go to work every day, that money is getting spent on my necessities, my bills, but also it's being invested, right? Your money that from your paycheck that goes into your bank account can sit in your bank and do nothing and collect interest, which is a few pennies every month. Or you could take that money and turn it into something better. You can make that money work for you. When you make your money work for you and you invest it into the stock market, you create a nest egg, which is a safety net for your retirement. What this means is that when you go to retire, you might not be able to rely on Social Security or your 401k. You might have to rely on your own investments, right? And what's great about stocks is that you have the opportunity to invest in a Roth RIA. Now, at a very young age, I got a few Roth RIAs, and let me tell you something. If you are 20, 21, or 20 to 30 and you don't have a Roth IRA yet, you are behind. What a Roth IRA allows you to do is it allows you to invest your money at, I believe, a $7,000 cap every year so that you can take that money out when the IRA matures at a later date 100% tax-free. So instead of taking your capital gains tax, you take that at a mature rate for 0% tax. That is a massive advantage. With investing, what's fantastic is that the earlier you start, the better off you be. The more money that you invest, the better off you'll be. And what's great about that is when you're using Roths and you're investing early in your life and you're adding more consistently, that leads you eventually to have an earlier retirement. So those accounts mature even faster now, which is a huge advantage when you're young because the only thing that you are risking is your time. So let's talk about our overall strategy real quick, right? In a pinch, what we do is we take options and we take our profits and put them into shares, right? I max out my Roth accounts every year just on my profits from my trades. And what's great is that I have a strategy that works across every equity, every index, every market. It is a strict strategy that works based off of candlesticks and key levels. In our trades, we shoot for a high percentage good move. We don't scalp, we don't take small trades, and we don't take big losses, right? The max loss that I'll say that I've taken in the past year is probably 15%. If I get stopped out for 15%, it is what it is, right? I can lose 15% and still go on with the rest of my day. When we take our options trades, we look for three solid things: good percent gains, good risk to reward ratios, and stress-free trading. I think there's a clear difference between shareholders and traders, right? Shareholders mostly are long-term, safer investors. Their money is more put to work and grows over a long period of time. Of course, at the same time, you do need to manage those investments. So there's a lot more pull to the long-term bag holder option, but I would say that there's a good median between both that you can hit. And what's nice about options is that they are short-term, but they're more risky. So you're putting up more capital to make a bigger move, if that makes sense. What I like is that trading as a whole changes your perspective on life. Not only does it change your perspective on money and the concept of money to you, but it changes you how you look at risks, how you look at investments, how, buying a car could be an investment or a loss, And on top of it, it teaches you how to be adaptable, how to be humble. It teaches you life lessons. There's a lot of psychology into it. And it's becoming more and more mainstream by the day, so there's so much knowledge and opportunity out there to do any of this, and it's never too late to start, and it's never too early to start. It's simply just a good idea, Everybody talks about how they want to get rich quick, and obviously that's never going to happen. You have to put in work in order to build wealth. That's just a fact of life, you know. Uh, Nobody got rich off of doing nothing. With that said, this takes an extreme amount of focus, discipline, and time to learn, you know. I paper traded for about 6 to 8 months, and that was enough time to learn the good basics, right? But I'm gonna be honest. The minute that I jumped into the real market, I was thrown for a loop. I ended up losing a lot of money. I was, I think, at an all-time low of down like 6K, and you know, from there you kind of get a new perspective on it, right? You see that negative number, and you're just like, how do I do this to myself? And it makes you want to become better and makes you want to learn more, and then you get involved with the process, and you start to enjoy it, and you start to have fun, and you're profitable, and the gears start to work. And eventually you just reach this flow state where you're just doing the same thing day in and day out. And I'll be honest, that's kind of where I've been at. I've been taking 1, 2, 3 trades at most on a day. You know, when I do my pre-market prep, I'll look at my, SPY index, and I'll see if there's any good trades setting up there. If there's not, oh well. And then I'll pick, 2 equities out of my dozens of other ones, that have good setups on, and I'll watch those throughout the day. A lot of people will overthink and overwork trading, but it's very simple. It's not difficult at all. If you can be adaptable and stay focused and and trade the chart in front of you, you'll be successful in this market. There's no reason that anybody cannot read a chart as if they could read a book. It's just learning another skill, like changing a tire, baking a cake, making eggs. I just made 2 food references, but whatever. You have to treat it as learning another skill. You're going to go through hardships. You're going to lose money. There's going to be days where you feel euphoric. There's going to be days where you feel like jumping off a building. That's the fact of trading. And to be completely honest, it kind of matures you over time, because you realize good or bad days, you got to deal with it. There's always tomorrow, right? Like, I'll tell you this. Here's a main rule of my strategy. If I take a loss, very rarely do I take another trade throughout the day. Because if I take that first loss, it messes with my mental, right? You got to step away. You got to evaluate, why did I lose? How can I change? What can I learn from this? What this market has really taught me is the gracefulness of failure. And the way that I view failure, not just in trading, but in all aspects of life now, is that failure instantly leads to reflection. If you can reflect on your failure, you can learn from it. And if you can learn from it, you want to research why you are like that, right? So failure leads to reflection. Reflection leads to research. Research leads to results. Right? And whether those results are good or bad, we continue the cycle, right? At some point, my strategy may not work. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon, but at some point, you're going to get shaken up a bit. You're going to lose money on a huge news day. You're going to lose money on a random tick up or down, and you're going to hit your stop loss, and it's going to run directly into your TP right after it hits, That happened to me this week. That's a hard thing to shake, And what I haven't touched on yet is the emotional aspect of this market. You have to be mentally strong as shit to do this. It is hard. You have to think on your feet constantly. You have to be talking constantly. Talking about all of this market stuff has really made me a better trader and been able to convey it to other people a lot better. Talking yourself through it can be very beneficial, and I like that a lot. But going back to the emotional side, you have to be mentally strong. I've taken days where I've lost, 9K, 1.9K. Yesterday, this big bar right here in the top right, I lost 4.5 grand in my shares. What am I going to do? It is basically what it is. You can't do anything about it. But what you have to realize is that you're so young that it doesn't matter. You could put your shares, or you could put money in your shares now and hold them until you're 50, and you're probably going to be making a huge bag on it. Stocks are never going to go away, but the people trading them and the value of them is just going to keep going up. So why wouldn't you want to start as soon as possible to have that edge? And talking about edges, strategies give yourself an edge in the market. Now, if I turn on my drawings behind my picture on this chart, right, you can see pain, right? And it's important to note that all of these levels are there for a reason. They're all support, resistance, bouncing, daily levels, blah, 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 blah. They're all needed. That is called technical analysis. Now, here's another point of a skill that you need to learn, right? Trading the chart in front of you is very difficult. A lot of the times your brain is going to want to focus on the what if side of the market, and you cannot let that happen. And that's where the discipline comes in. Can you kind of see how all this kind of ties in together? And to round out just the start of this channel, and what I really want to get into is I want to talk about growth. And not just financial growth or learning trading or anything like that, but just growing as a person, learning money, learning how to become a better man or a better woman, or growing a financial nest egg so you can take care of your family one day, knowing how LLCs work to start a business, knowing how mortgage rates work and how to buy your first home, how loans and credit cards work. We live in a generation we are very very financially oblivious. A lot of young people were never taught money, and when you were taught in high school, it wasn't teaching you about money, it was teaching you how to budget it. And in my opinion, you should be living a life where you don't have to budget money. You should be working as hard as possible so you don't have to budget your money. And sure, it's okay to budget all the time. It's absolutely okay to save money wherever you can. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you to go buy a $28 lunch 3 days a week because that's just stupid. Or to go buy a fucking $10 coffee every day. That's really dumb. Maybe get the coffee grounds in a bag and make them at home. Sure, it tastes like hot dog water, but it's cheaper, so deal with it. It's caffeine, right? What the main point is that this is crucial to development as a person, right? This trading has taught me so many life lessons, and it's just so crazy to think how far I've come based on just looking at a chart with candlesticks, right? I can say that 4 years ago, I was a shell of the person that I am now. And I've made enough money where I'm happy with where I'm at with trading, and I can do that kind of stress-free on the side, as well as work my job. But now I kind of want to get into the influence aspect. I want to spread this knowledge to the younger audience, because what it boils down to is I want to make a generation of wealthy kids. I want to make people who can support their families, who can give their grandkids something to build off of, right? The goal is to not to be rich, not to be free, but to have the humbleness to spread the knowledge and give back to the people, right? Aiden Ross said a clip recently, and I saw it on TikTok. It's not about how much money you make, it's about how many lives you change. And it resonates with me a lot because, sure, you could say that I'm crazy and I'm looking at this big overview goal of, spreading the knowledge to every young person on the planet and all that stuff. But realistically, that's my goal. And it's out there and it's wild, but shoot for the moon, and hit something close to it. It's going to take a while. It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of consistency. But I'm willing to put in the work because I've done it for so long and it's like second nature to me. So, thank you for listening to me yap. Thank you for listening to sort of the basics of this channel, and I am so looking forward to what kind of content we put out and how it is perceived. So please subscribe, like and comment, give me any sort of feedback on how I can make these videos better, and have a wonderful day.